Welcome back, citizens. Caroline here. We've taken time in previous lessons to analyze each of the three branches of government, how the members of each branch achieve the position, the requirements for each job, and their powers and duties. The Constitution, with 7 articles or sections, actually outlines all of that information, dedicating 1 article to each of the 3 branches. The other sections support other functions. All of this is built upon principles covered in previous lessons, especially the separation of powers. Embedded into the first 3 articles with the powers of each branch is a system of checks and balances. That term is used because each of the branches has checks in place to keep the powers of one another not only separated, but balanced, to prevent any one branch from becoming too powerful and abusing that power. Today, we're going to check out real-life examples of the system of checks and balances. Oh, make sure you have the guided notes printed out before we begin, please. Our objective today is to describe how the government's system of checks and balances works. To do this, we will use specific examples from each of the 3 branches of government. One thing to keep in mind, each of the branches, the legislative, executive, and judicial, have specific powers to make them strong, and ways that each can be checked and kept in balance. You might think of the system of checks and balances as a governmental game of rock, paper, scissors. You probably remember how that goes. The separation of powers establishes a limit on each branch's power, but the Founding Fathers created specific moves for each branch to prevent abuses of power. Today, we will look at some of those moves. Let's start with an easy one. Let's say Congress passes a bill that bans individuals under 18 years old from using computers and cell phones. What happens to that bill next? If you said it goes to the president, then you are today's government rock star. Okay, so what are the president's options? Number 1, the president can sign it and the bill becomes law. Talk about some unhappy teenagers. Or number 2, the president can veto the bill, preserving the rights of teens across America to use computers and cell phones and making them, oh, so happy. The president's veto is an example of a check on the legislative branch's power. This is how the executive branch can prevent an extremely unpopular law from being passed. The veto is an example of the president's rock to the Congress's scissors. Rock beats scissors. Wait a minute. This match isn't over. Here's the thing about the system of checks and balances. Oftentimes, when a branch seems to be held in check, there might still be hope for victory. Did you know that Congress is capable of overriding a presidential veto? It doesn't happen often, but it is possible. How? It would take a 2/3 vote by both houses of Congress to get it done. That means at least 67 of the 100 members of the Senate would have to support the law, while at least 290 of the 435 representatives in the House would have to do the same. If that was to happen, then the bill would become law despite the president's disapproval. I didn't say it would be easy, just that it was possible. But Congress's ability to override a veto is yet another check the legislative branch possesses to maintain balance among the branches and prevent the abuse of power. Great examples and interesting checks to maintain balance among the branches. But We haven't yet included the judicial branch in this scenario. Let's do that now. Let's go back to our new law that bans individuals under 18 years old from using computers and cell phones. Yes, I know that's not popular, but hear me out. Help could be on the way. Let's say a group of people, such as everyone under the age of 18 and many of their parents, protests the new law because it denies them of their right to freedom of speech and expression. The matter could end up in court, and soon after, the Supreme Court. That's where the judicial branch enters this game of rock, paper, scissors with a big weapon: judicial review. The Supreme Court can choose to hear the case, and the court could declare the law unconstitutional because it violates First Amendment rights for individuals under 18. Know what happens to the law then? That's right! It's overturned! Stricken! Gone! The Supreme Court just emerged victorious, and you and other teens get access to computers and phones again! Are there other examples? Of course! What fun would a game be if there was only one way to play and win? The fact is, for any power and responsibility designated by the Constitution to one of the branches of government, at least one branch possesses a check on that power. They use these to maintain balance and protect you from potential abuses. For example, you may remember that the President is the Commander-in-Chief of all U.S. military forces. But who declares war on other nations? It's not the President, it's Congress. The legislative branch also controls spending for the military. Let's try another one. The judicial branch has the broad powers to declare both laws and executive actions unconstitutional. But what checks does Congress and the President have on the Supreme Court? There are multiple answers, but the biggest check on the judicial branch is that the other two branches select and approve its members. The President nominates judges for the Supreme Court, while the Senate approves their nomination. This is a check on judicial power because the other two branches have a say in who serves on the courts. Voters have that say for the legislative and executive branches. We could get into many more examples of checks and balances among the three branches. Instead, you will have the opportunity to apply your knowledge about the government's version of rock, paper, scissors in the PDF. The system of checks and balances, as outlined in the U.S. Constitution by the Founding Fathers, is a vital component of the separation of powers and the prevention of abuses of power. The fact that each branch has the ability to place a figurative paper on another branch's rock helps to maintain balance in the massive and complicated game that is our U.S. government. That's all the games for today, good citizens. Until next time, vote, debate, and participate, and always remember to be clever.